Hey everybody, welcome back to another standard deck tech. I've been playing Torrential Gearhulk control list in standard for a very long time, and this is my latest iteration of the deck, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's been pretty darn powerful, and I just kind of want to go over the list in usual fashion, show you the quantities I have here, and some of the choices I made. First thing that's going to stand out is we're splashing red. It's not a standard blue-white list, not blue-white approach, not blue-white control. There's a couple reasons to it. I think the blue-white lists are really good. Nothing bad to say about it. I personally don't like the whole mill people out with the fairy win condition. And also approach is, I don't know, a little gimmicky for my taste. But I do think the decks are good. So our win condition is we're mainboarding 3 Torrential Gearhulks, 2 Chandra Torture Defiance, and then we have 3 Teferi. Very powerful stuff. Now let's go over to card draw, and we'll come back to those later. So 2 Searchers Kanta. We're on 4 Glimmer Genius. We're using Glimmers because we're on Gearhulks, and then also we are running Aether Hub as a 3-color deck, so the energy is relevant. And then for counter magic, Singleton Negate for Essence Scatter, 2 Supreme Will, and 3 Disallow. Now, some people are using Syncopate, and I do think Syncopate is really good, but I've chosen Supreme Will instead. I like it more for finding Torrential Gearhulks than anything. Search for His Content has the same kind of impulse mode, but it only lets you get non-creature, non-land cards. Supreme Will, I can put any card in my hand, so that comes in handy a lot. Pun intended. Alright, and then for removal, we're on 2 Blink of an Eye, 2 Seal Away, 3 Settle the Wreckage, and 4 Braid. Now, aside from Shonda, Braid's the biggest reason why we are splashing red. I think it's a very powerful removal spell in the format. The original blue-white list were on a full 4 Seal Away, and I think that's cool, and Seal Away is an incredible card. But as the response, you started seeing a lot more vehicles, Heart of Kirin, things with Vigilance that are much more difficult to deal with Seal Away. And then also the green decks are starting to put like Brontodons, and people are putting in ways to answer enchantments. So for that reason, we're on a Braid, so we can deal with vehicles. I consider doing Esper, and I've seen some good Esper lists for Fatal Push, but there's not a lot of ways to trigger Revolt outside of Field of Ruin in a deck like this, so you're pretty soft to like Chain Whirlers and stuff like that. So I prefer a Braid because they're still a solid answer to all those hyper-aggressive decks in the meta. And that's basically it for the main board. I'm not running Cast Out or anything. I was originally, but it felt really awkward to have an enchantment like that in a Torrential Gearhulk list. I'd rather have Blink of an Eye to deal with a troublesome permanent, or I can just get rid of it with Teferi. Now moving on to the mana base, which I was a little concerned going 3 colors, at least splashing red, but so far the mana base has been very consistent, and I've yet to find myself in too much trouble. So starting off with 4 Glacial Fortress, 4 Irrigated Farmland. So for fast lands I only have 2. I have 2 Spire Bluff Canals, and then for the rest of the duels, 3 Sulphur Falls, 2 Cliff Trough Retreat. And we are on 4 Aether Hub. Now, Aether Hubs are kind of important here. I was on the fence about it at first because we don't have a huge energy thing. We're not running like Harness Lightning or anything like that. But just hitting those like early turn Braids or Seal Aways when we do have awkward mana, it kind of smooths things out, and we will recover the energy later. And then as far as basics, 3 Island, 1 Mountain, 2 Plains. I don't really know if we need a mountain per se. It's only here just because so many people are running Field of Ruin. And if we only have a singleton red source and they're trying to keep us off it, it's nice to have. Now going to the sideboard, which I have here, let's deal with the obvious things. So when we have all the dead removal ruin against control, we're bringing in 3 Spyglass and 3 Negates. So we're going to a full playset of Negate. Pretty straightforward. Also, 1 Pull from Tomorrow, which we have in the sideboard, not in the main. Pretty much just for your slower matchups. 2 Invoke the Divine, and 2 Fumigate for... the Fumigates are really just there for the green decks. The really big green decks with like Carnage Tyrants and Galtas and stuff like that. I wouldn't bring them in necessarily against red. I think we have another early interaction removal. We can kind of go 1-for-1 against them. They don't go too wide too fast, so that tends to be fine with the Settle the Wreckage. We have main. And then for creatures, since we are in red, we get access to 2 pretty awesome cards. The first being Direfleet Daredevil and the other Locust God. Now, Locust God, I'm going to want against lower decks, and I'm going to bring it in control mirrors. Now, we are softer to control mirrors than your standard blue-white list, which is okay, but I think we're better against the hyper-aggressive decks. But the Locust God is something they just absolutely have to answer. If they don't answer it right away, it's going to run away with the game. Because not only is it going to be a card outlet, it's going to let you put multiple threats. And aside from Settle the Wreckage, which you can imagine most control decks are going to board out against you game 2, they don't really have a way of dealing with decks that go wide. So it's a pretty powerful card. And then also Direfleet Daredevil. Now, depending on what control matchup you have, you can or cannot bring these in. I really like these against like really fast mono red decks. Like there's certain mono red decks, there's actually a lot of different variants of them right now, which is cool, that play a ton of burn spells. They're playing whatever the lightning bolt variants are, the 2-mana one, and then Wizard's Lightning, and then also Shocks and all that stuff. So this is really good, and they're mostly playing 1-drop creatures. So I like to bring these in against those type of decks. One, because it's first strike, so it's a body on the ground that they have a really hard time attacking through. So it's a really good blocker in that situation, and then also we're able to utilize one of their burn spells. So if they like have a creature down, play a burn spell, we can play this, use the burn spell, kill their creature, and then have an effective blocker, so we can 2-for-1 them at that point. So pretty cool option to have since we're in, we do have a red splash going on. And that's the deck. I hope you guys like it. If there's any updates to come, I will gladly post them, and if you have any questions, let me know. But just some closing thoughts. This deck is incredibly powerful, and I guess the main win con I should mention is obviously we can win with Gear Hulk, but it's really the primary way I've been winning with this deck is ultimating Chandra. Because if you've seen the blue-white list play, they get to a point in the game where Teferi is going off, where you have Teferi and search for his Kanta, and you're able to pretty much protect your board and you stabilize. That's straightforward for any control deck, really. Nothing exciting or new there. Well, you're able to do the same thing with Chandra. So you're continuously able to tick it up, deal 2 damage to him, and then eventually alter, and then you can just play whatever spells. Like, so you can even take like a search for his Kanta, play it, use your Teferi, tuck the spell, search for it with like another search for his Kanta, play again, deal 5 damage. Like, that's usually how it wins. That's where I have a Chandra ult, and then I'm using Teferi's tuck ability to find spells to recast and then kill my opponent. And Gear Hulk can win, but it's not really. It's like the distraction to the opponent for what our real win condition is. And they're going to waste a bunch of resources trying to deal with him. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care.